Commander Vrell stood on the observation deck of the warship Crimson Talon, his 4 eyes scanning the pitiful planet below. Earth. What a ridiculous name for a world. Dirt. They called their home Dirt. Sir, his tactical officer Brennix approached with that annoying shuffle these younger soldiers always had. The human vessel has been secured. Minimal resistance, as expected. Vrell allowed himself a satisfied click from his mandibles. Of course, there was minimal resistance. Humans. Soft. Weak. Pathetic little creatures who had barely crawled out of their own atmosphere before his people found them. The Korthax Empire had been sailing between stars for 12,000 cycles, and these primates thought they could negotiate. "Bring their captain to the interrogation chamber," Vrell ordered, turning away from the viewport. "Let us see what information we can extract before we dismantle their pathetic excuse for a military." The corridors of the Crimson Talon hummed with power, a comforting vibration that reminded Vrell of his superiority. His race had conquered 47 star systems, 47. And not one of those systems had given them trouble once the initial bombardment was complete. Standard procedure. Overwhelming force. Quick submission. Easy victory. Humans would be number 48. Brennix hesitated. "Sir, there is something unusual about this human." "They are all unusual," Vrell snapped. "They eat with their mouths and breathe the same air they speak with. Disgusting design flaw. What could possibly be more unusual than that?" "He is carrying a small blade, sir. Our scanners detected it, but he refuses to surrender it. Claims it is ceremonial." Vrell stopped walking. His secondary eyes swiveled to look at Brennix, while his primary eyes remained forward. "A blade? You allowed him to keep a blade?" "It is only 7 inches long, sir. Barely a tool. Our armor plating is 6 inches thick. There is no conceivable threat." A low rumble started in Vrell's chest. Laughter. 7 inches. "Let me understand this correctly, Brennix. This human, whose ship we have destroyed, whose crew we have captured, whose entire species is about to become a footnote in Korthax history, wants to keep a tiny knife." "Yes, sir." "Yes, sir." "Bring him in. With the knife. I want to see the weapon this fool thinks will protect him." The interrogation chamber was Vrell's favorite room on the ship, perfectly circular. White walls that could display anything he wanted them to show. Here, previous interrogations, the burning worlds of those who had resisted. The room was a psychological weapon, and Vrell wielded it like a master craftsman. He settled into his command throne, his massive frame making the chair groan slightly. At 8 feet tall and weighing nearly 400 pounds, Vrell was considered average among Korthax warriors. His exoskeleton gleamed under the harsh lights, natural armor that had evolved over millions of years. His people were apex predators on a world where everything tried to kill everything else. And this human had a knife. The door hissed open. 2 guards, each 7 feet tall and armed with plasma rifles, escorted the human inside. Vrell had seen images of humans before, intelligence reports, anatomical studies, but seeing one in person was underwhelming. The creature stood maybe 6 feet tall, only 2 eyes, and they were positioned in the front of its head like a prey animal. No natural armor, no claws, no venomous spines. Just soft pink skin covered partially by a dark blue uniform. And there, on his hip, was the knife. "Captain." Vrell made a show of checking his datapad. "Jake Reeves, commanding officer of the Earth vessel Northern Star. Do I have that correct?" The human looked up at him. No fear in those strange eyes. Just calculation. "You do? And you are?" "I am Commander Vrell of the Korthax Empire, supreme military authority in this sector, conqueror of 47 star systems, and the individual who will decide whether your species lives or dies." Vrell leaned forward. "But please, do not let my credentials intimidate you. I noticed you brought a knife to our meeting." "How quaint." Jake's hand moved slightly closer to the blade at his hip. Not a threatening gesture. Just awareness. "You noticed." "I did. Tell me, Captain Reeves, what exactly do you plan to do with that pathetic little weapon? Trim your nails? Open a particularly stubborn food container? Perhaps you think you can fight your way off this ship with 7 inches of steel? It was my grandfather's, Jake said simply. He carried it in a war on our planet. I carry it to remember him. Vrell's laughter filled the chamber. Deep, booming, genuine, a war on your planet, between your own species. How absolutely primitive. We Korthax settled our planetary conflicts 15,000 cycles ago. We evolved past such barbarism. But please, tell me about this war. I am certain it was very impressive by your limited standards. Jake did not react to the mockery. His expression remained neutral. World War II lasted 6 years. 60 million dead. My grandfather fought in the Pacific Theater. Close quarters combat. Jungles. Islands. Trenches. He killed 17 enemy soldiers with that knife. 17. Vrell slapped his armored thigh. 17. Oh, how fearsome. I personally eliminated 300 rebels in the Gorvan uprising with my bare hands. My second in command once depopulated an entire city. But 17, with a knife, over 6 of your years. Truly legendary. He did it in 3 weeks, Jake corrected quietly. The laughter died. Vrell's 4 eyes focused entirely on the human. 3 weeks, 17 kills. With that blade. Yes. Yes. And you think this story frightens me? You think I care about your grandfather's primitive savagery against his own kind? No, Jake said. I do not think you are frightened. I think you are ignorant. You have conquered 47 star systems, you said. Did any of them fight back after the bombardment? Brenix shifted uncomfortably behind Vrell. The commander noticed but ignored it. Some attempted resistance. It was quickly eliminated. How quickly? What does that matter? Humor me. Vrell considered the question. The longest insurgency lasted 4 solar months. The shortest was 3 days. Most species understand when they are beaten. They submit. They accept their place in the empire. It is logical. Survival over pride. Jake nodded slowly. You have never fought humans before. And I will not need to fight them for long. Your entire fleet numbered, what was it, Brenix? 43 vessels, sir. Civilian and military combined. 43 vessels, Vrell repeated. We have 7,000 ships in our armada. Your planet has, what, 8 billion inhabitants? We have 300 billion across our systems. You are outnumbered, outgunned, technologically inferior. And you stand here in my interrogation chamber, on my ship, surrounded by my soldiers. And you speak as if you have some advantage, as if that ridiculous knife gives you power. It does not give me power, Jake said. It reminds me of what humans do when we are outnumbered, outgunned, and facing extinction. And what is that? We fight anyway. Vrell stood up. His full height was impressive, terrifying to most species. The human did not even blink. You fight anyway. How noble, how pointless. Let me explain something to you, Captain. Your grandfather fought other humans, soft, weak, limited creatures like himself. I am Korthax. My exoskeleton can withstand small arms fire. My strength is 10 times that of your species. My reflexes are faster, my senses sharper. Your knife cannot penetrate my armor. Your muscles cannot overpower my own. You are a child playing with a toy, and I am a weapon forged over millions of years of evolution. You are probably right, Jake agreed. That stopped Vrell. He had expected defiance, bravado, perhaps tears, not agreement. I am right. So why do you still carry the knife? Because my grandfather taught me something important. He said that weapons are just tools, metal and edges. They do not win fights. Will does. Intent does. The refusal to quit Even when logic says you should, that is what wins. And humans, Commander Vrell, are very good at not quitting. Vrell sat back down slowly. This conversation was not going as planned. The human should be begging by now, offering to surrender, pleading for his people. Instead, he stood there, calm, talking about will and intent as if those things mattered against superior firepower. "Tell me about your ship," Vrell said, changing tactics. "The Northern Star. A science vessel, yes? Exploration and research. Not even a warship." "Correct." "Crew complement?" 37. 24 scientists, 8 engineers, 4 command staff, 1 combat specialist. Vrell's mandibles clicked together. 1. You had 1 combat specialist on your ship, and you were exploring unknown space. Your species is even more foolish than I thought. We did not expect to find hostiles. Our mission was to study the Outer Rim Nebula systems, map gravitational anomalies, collect samples. Peaceful scientific work, and instead you found the Korthax Empire. How unfortunate for you. "We found you 6 days ago," Jake said. "Your scout ship intercepted us in the Helios sector. We surrendered immediately as requested. No shots fired. We complied with all demands. Your forces boarded us without incident. We answered all questions. We provided all data. We did everything you asked." "Yes," Vrell agreed. "You did. Very cooperative, very submissive." Which makes this conversation even more confusing. Why do you suddenly sound defiant? Why do you speak of fighting and not quitting when you have already quit? "You surrendered, Captain Reeves." "I surrendered my ship to prevent my crew from being killed," Jake said. "That is not the same as surrendering my species. Your species has no choice in the matter. Earth will be assimilated into the Empire. Your people will work for us. Your resources will fuel our expansion. Your resistance will be crushed. This is not negotiable." "Everything is negotiable." Vrell slammed his fist on the arm of his throne. The metal dented. The sound echoed through the chamber. "No, it is not. You think because you stand here, holding your grandfather's knife, speaking brave words, that you have power. You have nothing. Your crew is imprisoned. Your ship is stripped. Your planet is defenseless. The only reason you are still alive is because I find this conversation mildly entertaining. But my patience has limits." Jake's hand moved to the knife handle. Not drawing it, just touching it. "May I ask you something, Commander?" "Speak." "Have you ever fought hand-to-hand? Close combat. No weapons, no armor. Just you and an opponent, close enough to feel their breath." Vrell considered the question. "Once, in my youth. A training exercise against another Korthax. I won easily. Against your own kind. Someone with the same armor, same strength, same advantages. Yes. Have you ever fought something weaker than yourself? Something you outmatch in every way?" "Why would I? That is not combat. That is execution." "Exactly," Jake said softly. "You have never learned what happens when the weak fight the strong. You have never had to. Every battle you have won was against equals or inferiors who submitted. You have never faced someone who refused to accept their weakness. Someone who fought anyway, knowing they would probably lose, but fighting anyway, because losing while fighting is better than living on your knees." Brennick spoke up from behind Vrell. "Sir, perhaps we should end this conversation. The human is clearly unstable. We can extract information through other means." Vrell held up a hand for silence. His eyes remained locked on Jake. "You think you are strong. You think your grandfather's stories and your 7-inch knife make you dangerous. And let me show you something, Captain." The walls of the interrogation chamber flickered to life. Images appeared. Burning cities on conquered worlds. Korthax soldiers standing over defeated enemies. Mass graves. Surrendered fleets. Species after species kneeling before the Empire. "This is what happens to those who resist," Vrell said. This is the reality of fighting against superior force. Your bravery, your will, your refusal to quit. None of it matters. We are inevitable. Jake watched the images without expression. When they finished cycling, he looked back at Vrell. How many of those species had nuclear weapons when you found them? None. Why does that matter? How many had space-faring capability? 2. Basic colony ships. Nothing like our technology. How many had fought total wars among themselves? Wars that cost hundreds of millions of lives. Wars that pushed their entire species to the brink of extinction? Vrell did not answer. Jake continued, his voice still calm, still measured. Humans have fought wars for our entire existence. We have fought over land, resources, ideas, religions, borders, insults, pride. We have developed weapons specifically designed to kill each other as efficiently as possible. We have studied violence the way your people study physics. We have made it an art form, a science, a culture, and we are still here, still fighting, still refusing to quit. You think you know war, because you have bombed planets from orbit and accepted surrenders, but you have never truly fought, not the way humans fight. Old words from a prisoner, Vrell said, but his voice lacked its earlier certainty. I am a prisoner, Jake agreed. You control this ship. You control this conversation. You could kill me right now and I could not stop you. But in 7 days, when your fleet reaches Earth, you are going to learn something about my species. Something none of your intelligence reports mentioned. Something none of your previous conquests prepared you for. And what is that? Humans do not die quietly. We do not submit gracefully. We do not accept the inevitable, and when you push us into a corner, when you threaten everything we love, when you give us no choice but to fight or die, we become something you have never encountered before. We become desperate, and desperate humans are the most dangerous things in this universe. Vrell stood again. He walked down from his throne, approaching the human. Each step was heavy, deliberate, intimidating. He stopped 3 feet away, towering over Jake. You are trying to frighten me with words. It will not work. Your species will fall like all the others. Your planet will burn if you resist. Your people will serve if you submit. Those are your only options. Then we will burn, Jake said without hesitation. And we will make sure you burn with us. For a long moment, the chamber was silent. Vrell studied the human. The defiance, the absolute certainty. No fear, no doubt, just cold determination. Brenix, Vrell said finally. Take the captain back to the holding cells. Keep him separated from his crew. I want no communication. Yes, sir. As the guards moved to escort Jake out, Vrell spoke again. Captain Reeves, one more question. Jake paused, looking back. Your grandfather, the one who killed 17 enemies with that knife. Did he survive the war? He did. And did he ever speak of those kills? Did he boast about his victories? Jake shook his head slowly. No, he never spoke of them at all. Not until he was dying. And when he finally told me. He cried. Because each of those 17 men he killed were just like him. Scared. Young. Fighting for their homes. He did not kill them because he wanted to. He killed them because he had to. Because they would have killed him if he had not. That is what close combat means. Being commander. It is not glory. It is not honor. It is necessity. It is survival. It is looking into the eyes of another living being and choosing to end their life so you can continue yours. And it haunts you forever. The guards led Jake out of the chamber. The door hissed shut. Vrell stood alone, except for Brenix. Sir, Brenix ventured. Should we be concerned about one human with a knife? No. About a species that fights like he describes? Perhaps. Vrell returned to his throne. Contact the fleet. I want full battle readiness when we reach Earth. No assumptions. No underestimation. We treat them as a legitimate threat until proven otherwise. Sir, is that necessary? Our intelligence suggests their military is no match for us. Intelligence also suggested they would surrender peacefully. That human did not sound peaceful. Vrell pulled up tactical displays, studying Earth's defenses. Primitive, outdated, easy to overwhelm. But something nagged at him. Something in Jake's voice. The certainty, the lack of fear. Renix, pull up the data on human history. Their wars, their conflicts. I want to know what we are really dealing with. Yes, sir. As Brenix left to retrieve the information, Vrell found himself thinking about the knife. 7 inches of steel. Sharp enough to kill 17 men in 3 weeks. Simple. Primitive. Effective. The Korthax had energy weapons, plasma rifles, molecular disruptors, ships that could crack planets. But they had evolved past blades millennia ago, past close combat. They fought from distance. Clean. Efficient. Impersonal. Had they forgotten something important in that evolution? The data began streaming across Vrell's displays. Human conflicts. Thousands of them. Wars that lasted decades. Wars that killed hundreds of millions. Chemical weapons. Nuclear bombs. Trenches where soldiers fought hand to hand in the mud for months over yards of ground. Sieges. Guerrilla warfare. Suicide attacks. Scorched earth tactics. Humans fighting humans with a savagery that made Korthax conquests look restrained. By the ancestors, Vrell whispered. What kind of species does this to itself? More data. Tactics. Strategies, something called the Normandy invasion. 150,000 soldiers hitting a beach under fire. Thousands dead in hours. But they kept coming. They did not stop. They did not retreat. They just kept coming. Something called Stalingrad. An entire city turned into a graveyard. Millions dead. Both sides fighting building by building, room by room, sometimes with knives and broken bottles when ammunition ran out. And the battle lasted 5 months. Something called Vietnam. A technologically superior force fighting guerrilla fighters who refused to quit, refused to surrender, for a decade. The superior force eventually withdrew. Afghanistan. Multiple times. Different invaders. Same result. The humans defending their territory fought until the invaders gave up and left. These people, Vrell said slowly, fight each other like this, and they still exist as a species? He pulled up more recent data. Human space exploration. Limited. Their fastest ships were barely 1/10 the speed of Korthax vessels. Their weapons were primitive. Their armor laughable. But their casualty tolerance in their own wars was staggering. Acceptable losses that would make any Korthax commander resign in shame. Humans considered normal. Expected. The price of victory. Sir? Brenix returned. I have retrieved additional data as requested. Should I compile a full tactical assessment? No, Vrell said. No, I will review this personally. Dismissed. Alone again, Vrell continued reading. He found himself focusing on one particular conflict, World War II. The war Jake's grandfather had fought in. The data was extensive. 6 years. Every continent except Antarctica. 60 million dead. Cities bombed into rubble. 2 nuclear weapons detonated on civilian populations. And humanity continued. Rebuilt. Grew stronger. Went to space. What kind of species survives that and keeps going? Vrell pulled up the file on Jake Reeves specifically. Born in North America region. Military academy training. Served in Earth's Navy. Decorated for action in the Mars colony uprising. Transferred to Exploration Division. No family. No romantic partner. Dedicated entirely to his work. The Mars colony uprising. Vrell accessed that file. Interesting. Humans had colonized their neighboring planet. The colony had demanded independence. Earth refused. A brief war. 3 months. 40,000 dead. The colony had surrendered. Jake had been part of the assault force that retook the main colony dome. Close-quarters combat, narrow corridors, hand-to-hand fighting. His unit had taken 80% casualties but completed their mission. And now he commanded a science vessel, exploring peaceful space, carrying his grandfather's knife. Vrell looked at the tactical display showing Earth's position, 7 days away at current speed. 7 days to prepare. 7 days to decide how to handle a species that apparently never learned when to quit. Standard Cortax doctrine was simple. Overwhelming orbital bombardment. Demand surrender. Accept submission. Garrison key locations. Move to the next target. Quick, clean, efficient. But what if Earth did not surrender? What if they fought like their history suggested they would? What if 8 billion humans, fighting with the desperation Jake had described, turned their planet into another Stalingrad? Vrell had the ships. He had the firepower. He could burn Earth to ashes if necessary, but that would take time, resources. And if the humans fought building by building, city by city, the casualties would be immense on both sides. Was it worth it? The standing order was to assimilate all species encountered. No exceptions. Expansion was the Empire's purpose. Growth was survival. But Vrell found himself questioning that order for the first time in his career, not because he feared humans, but because he was beginning to understand that fighting them might cost more than any previous conquest, might test the Empire in ways it had never been tested. He thought about Jake's words, about desperate humans being the most dangerous things in the universe. Was that true? Or just bravado from a prisoner trying to buy time for his doomed species? Vrell would find out in 7 days. He pulled up the crew manifest for the Northern Star. 37 humans, all imprisoned on the Crimson Talon. He could interrogate them all, learn more about their species, their psychology, their breaking points, or he could do something unusual. Vrell activated his communicator. Brenix, have Captain Reeves brought back to the interrogation chamber. Sir, we just returned him to his cell. I am aware. Bring him back. I wish to continue our conversation. Yes, sir. Vrell settled back into his throne, thinking about knives and wars and species that fought until they had nothing left. About 8 billion humans waiting on their planet, unaware that first contact was about to become their worst nightmare. Or perhaps it would be the Cortax Empire's worst nightmare. Either way, Vrell needed to understand what he was truly facing before the fleet reached Earth. The door opened. Jake entered, still flanked by guards, his hand still near his grandfather's knife. Captain Reeves, Vrell said, I have a proposition for you. Jake stood in the interrogation chamber for the second time that day, his expression unchanged, and still calm, still calculating. Vrell found that infuriating and fascinating in equal measure. A proposition, Jake repeated. You are offering me a deal? Not a deal, Vrell corrected. An opportunity. For both of us to learn something useful before my fleet turns your planet into a memory. I am listening. Vrell gestured to the guards. Leave us. Wait outside. Brennick stepped forward. Sir, that is highly irregular. The prisoner could be dangerous. With a 7-inch knife against my armor? Vrell let out a sharp click of amusement. I think I can manage, Brennick. Leave us. The guards hesitated, then obeyed. The door sealed shut with a hiss. 2 beings. Alone. Predator and prey. Except Vrell was no longer certain which was which. You have read about our history, Jake said. It was not a question. I have. 6 hours of data analysis. Your species is remarkably good at killing itself. World War I, World War II, Korea, Vietnam, Iraq, Syria, 100 other conflicts I cannot even pronounce. Your people have spent more time fighting each other than any species in our records. Does that frighten you? No, Vrell said. It makes me curious. You understand violence in a way we do not. The Cortax evolved beyond internal conflict millennia ago. We fight to expand, to grow, to acquire resources. But you humans? You fight over ideas, beliefs, symbols, things that have no physical value. It is irrational. It is human. Vrell stood, descending from his throne again. He walked a slow circle around Jake, studying him from every angle. I want to understand. Before my fleet arrives at Earth, before the bombardment begins, before your species faces extinction or submission, I want to understand what makes you fight when fighting is pointless. Why? Because in 47 conquered systems, I have never encountered a species like yours. Most submit immediately. The few who resist do so briefly, then surrender when they realize the cost. But your history suggests you do not care about cost. You keep fighting even when the losses are catastrophic, even when victory is impossible. Why? Jake turned slowly, keeping Vrell in sight as the commander circled him. Because surrender means the end of everything we are. Fighting, even if we lose, means we go down as ourselves. Free. Defiant. Human. That is insane. Probably. But it is our insanity. Our choice. And you cannot take that from us. Vrell stopped pacing. He stood directly in front of Jake, close enough to reach out and crush the human skull with one hand, close enough to smell the strange scent these creatures produced, close enough to see the pulse beating in Jake's neck, visible through that thin, vulnerable skin. My proposition is this, Vrell said. You train me. Teach me human close combat. Show me what your grandfather knew. What you know. I want to understand how a weaker species fights a stronger one. In return, I will allow you to communicate with your crew, ensure they are treated well, perhaps even grant them better accommodations. Jake's eyes narrowed. You want me to teach you how to kill humans more efficiently? No, I want to understand my enemy. There is a difference. Is there? Yes. Understanding breeds respect. Respect breeds consideration. And consideration might mean I choose a different approach when my fleet reaches Earth. Promises. No guarantees. But your cooperation could influence my decisions. Jake was quiet for a long moment. His hand moved to the knife handle. Drew it. Slowly. The blade caught the light. 7 inches of steel. Simple. Elegant. Deadly in the right hands. You want to learn? Jake asked. I do. Then the first lesson is this. Close combat is not about strength. It is not about armor or speed or natural advantages. It is about will, about who wants to survive more, or who is willing to do whatever it takes. Are you prepared for that? Commander? Are you prepared to learn what it means to fight when every instinct says you should run? Vrell felt something unfamiliar stir in his chest. Not fear. Not quite, but something close. Anticipation. Challenge. Show me. Jake moved. Not fast by Korthak standards, Vrell could have blocked the strike easily. Could have countered. Could have broken the human's arm. But he did not. He wanted to see what Jake would do. The knife swept toward Vrell's neck. Not the armored exoskeleton covering his torso, but the neck, the joints, the vulnerable spaces where armor plates met. Jake knew. He had studied Korthak's anatomy, knew exactly where to strike. Vrell caught Jake's wrist, effortlessly. His grip was iron, unbreakable. He held the human's arm in place, the knife inches from his throat. Is that your best? Jake smiled. Actually smiled. No, that was the distraction. The human's knee drove up into Vrell's lower abdomen. Not armored. A weak point. The impact was surprisingly painful. Vrell grunted, his grip loosening slightly. Jake twisted free, rolling away, coming up in a defensive crouch. Lesson 1, Commander. In close combat there are no rules, no honor codes, no fair fights. You use every advantage, every dirty trick. Every moment of hesitation from your opponent. Vrell straightened, rubbing his abdomen. The pain was already fading, his natural resilience kicking in. You got one hit, against an opponent not trying to kill you. Do you think that would work in a real fight? It worked just now. I allowed it to work. Did you? Jake stood slowly. Or did you underestimate me? Did you assume that because I am weaker, slower, more fragile, I could not hurt you? That is the mistake every bully makes, Commander. They forget that the desperate are unpredictable, dangerous, willing to accept pain to deliver pain. Vrell considered that. The human was right. He had underestimated, had assumed his physical superiority meant invulnerability. But Jake had found a weakness, exploited it. In a real combat scenario, that hesitation could be fatal. Again, Vrell said. Attack me again. This time I will defend properly. No. No? Ow. Jake sheathed the knife. You do not learn by defending. Commander, you learn by attacking. You want to understand close combat? Then try to kill me. Actually try. With your strength, your speed, your armor. Come at me like you would any enemy. And I will show you why humans are still alive after 10,000 years of trying to exterminate ourselves. Vrell felt his blood heating. Battle fever. The Korthax called it bloodlust. The physiological response to combat. His muscles tensed. His vision sharpened. His 4 eyes focused entirely on the human. If I truly attack, you could die. I could crush your skull before you react. Then I die. But you asked for a demonstration. I am giving you one. Attack me, Commander. Kill me if you can. Or learn something. No more words. Vrell charged. His speed was impressive. Faster than most species could perceive. His clawed hand swept toward Jake's head, enough force to decapitate. To end this foolish experiment instantly. Jake was not there. The human dropped low below the strike, moving with fluid grace that seemed impossible for such an awkward species. Vrell felt something slash across the back of his knee. The knife, cutting through the joint where armor plates connected. Not deep, not crippling, but painful, precise. Vrell spun, backhanding with his other arm, hit nothing. Jake had already moved, circling, staying close but never in reach, targeting weak points, the backs of knees, the elbows. The neck joints, each cut was shallow, annoying more than damaging. But there were many of them now. 5, 7, 10. Small wounds adding up, bleeding through gaps in Vrell's armor. Lesson 2, Jake said, breathing hard but still moving. You cannot fight what you cannot catch. Humans learn to hunt prey stronger than themselves. We learn patience. Precision. We bleed our enemies slowly. Wear them down. Outlast them. Vrell roared. Frustration. Anger. He was faster, stronger, better in every measurable way. But the human was making him look foolish. He changed tactics. Stopped chasing, waited, let Jake come to him. Jake circled, waiting, watching, looking for an opening. You are learning, the human said. Good. In close combat, patience is survival. Rush and die. Wait and win. They stood opposite each other, predator and prey, except the roles kept shifting. Neither committed to an attack, both waiting for the other to make a mistake. How long do you think you can keep this up? Vrell asked. You are breathing heavily, sweating, tiring. I could fight for hours without strain. You are bleeding from 12 wounds, Jake countered. None fatal. Yet. But every cut weakens you, distracts you, makes you hesitate. How long before one of those cuts hits something important? An artery? A nerve cluster? You would need to penetrate much deeper for that. Then I will cut deeper. Jake moved. Different this time, not dancing away. Coming in close. Pressing against Vrell's chest. almost too close to punch, too close to grab effectively. The knife working upward, seeking the gap between Vrell's chest plate and throat armor. Vrell wrapped his arms around the human, crushing force, ribs cracking. Jake gasped. Pain, real damage. But the knife kept moving, found the gap. Pressed in. Both beings froze. The knife was a quarter-inch into Vrell's throat, not enough to kill, yet, but positioned perfectly, one thrust, and it would sever the major artery. Vrell would bleed out in seconds. But Vrell's arms were crushing Jake's ribs. Another few pounds of pressure and the human's chest would collapse, to death by asphyxiation. Slow, painful, certain mutual destruction. Stalemate, Vrell said quietly. Is it? Jake's voice was strained, damaged ribs making breathing difficult. You think this is stalemate? This is what humans call acceptable losses. You die. I die. But my people know what happened here. They know you can be hurt, can be killed, you can bleed, and they will fight you with everything they have. Your death here means more dead court hacks later. My death means one, the less human. We have 8 billion more. How many commanders do you have who can replace you? Vrell understood. Finally understood. You would die, right now, just to prove a point, not just a point, a lesson. Humans do not value individual survival over species survival. We will sacrifice anything, everything, to protect what we love. You want to conquer Earth? Every human you kill will cost you 10 Korthaks. Every city you burn will become a rallying cry. Every child you harm will create 1,000 new soldiers who will hunt you across the stars. You can win. Probably. But the cost will be so high you will wish you had never found us. Vrell released Jake. Stepped back. The knife withdrew from his throat. A trickle of blue blood ran down his neck. A wound. The first real wound he had taken in combat in 15 years. Jake collapsed to his knees, coughing, blood on his lips. Internal damage. Serious but not immediately fatal. You need medical attention, Vrell said. I need you to understand what you are facing. I do. Now, your species is insane. Yes. Jake looked up, grinning through the pain. But we are alive. Still here. Still fighting. After 10,000 years of warfare, natural disasters, plagues, famines, and our own stupidity, we are still here, because we refuse to quit. We refuse to accept that we are beaten. And when you show up at Earth with your 7,000 ships and your overwhelming firepower, we are going to teach you the same lesson we taught every other empire that tried to conquer us throughout history. And what lesson is that? That humans are easy to kill, but impossible to defeat. You can burn our cities, destroy our fleets, kill millions, billions. But the survivors will keep fighting. They will use rocks if they run out of bullets, sticks if they run out of rocks, their bare hands if they run out of sticks, and they will never stop, never surrender, never accept your rule. You will spend the rest of your empire's existence fighting an insurgency that costs you more than any victory is worth. Vrell walked to his throne, sat heavily. His wounds were already clotting, healing, but Jake's words cut deeper than the knife had. Brenix, he said into his communicator, send medical personnel to the interrogation chamber. The human is injured. Sir, did he attack you? No, I attacked him. He defended himself. Effectively. Should we execute him? No, we should listen to him. The medical team arrived quickly. They worked on Jake carefully, scanning his injuries. 3 cracked ribs, internal bruising, minor bleeding, painful but treatable. They offered to take him to the medical bay. Jake refused. I stay here, until the commander and I finish talking. The medical personnel looked to Vrell for guidance. He waved them away. Treat him here, then leave us. They injected Jake with something. Pain relief probably, stabilizers. The human's breathing eased. Color returned to his face. The Korthak's medical technology was advanced, but effective. "You could have killed me just then," Jake said when they were alone again. "Why didn't you?" "Because you are more valuable alive. As a teacher, as a source of information, as a representative of your species, or because you are having doubts." Vrell did not answer immediately. He pulled up the tactical displays again. Earth. 8 billion humans. 43 ships. Primitive weapons. Easy conquest by any logical assessment. But nothing about this conversation had been logical. "I am having considerations," Vrell admitted. "Not doubts. Considerations. Your species presents a unique challenge, one that requires unique solutions. You could leave. Go find a different system to conquer, one with people who will submit quietly. And if I do? If I report that Earth is too dangerous to conquer? What then? Do you think the Empire will simply ignore you? No, they will send a bigger fleet, more commanders, more firepower. And those commanders will not hesitate, will not consider. They will simply burn your planet and move on. Then we burn. So you keep saying. But I do not think you truly want that. I think you want your species to survive, to thrive, to continue exploring the stars like you were doing when we found you. Am I wrong?" Jake was quiet for a moment. "No, you are not wrong. I want humanity to survive. But not as slaves, not as servants to your empire. We would rather die free than live in chains. What if there was a third option?" "What option?" Vrell stood again, paced, thinking, processing, making a decision that would probably end his career, possibly his life. But the right decision nonetheless. What if Earth became an autonomous region within the Empire, self-governing, independent, but protected by Korthak's military power, an alliance rather than a conquest? Jake stared at him. "You would do that? Offer us independence? Not freely. There would be terms, technology exchange, trade agreements, military cooperation against external threats, but no occupation, no forced labor, no subjugation. You remain human, we remain Korthaks. But we stop trying to kill each other. Your superiors would never agree to that. You said expansion is mandatory. Assimilation is policy. The policy can change, especially when the cost of following policy exceeds the benefit. I will present the facts to the High Command. Earth is a military power unlike any we have encountered. Conquering it would require resources we cannot afford to spend, losses we cannot accept. But an alliance that costs nothing and gains us a powerful ally, they will think you are weak, that you failed, perhaps. Or they will think I am smart, that I found a way to achieve our goals without unnecessary bloodshed. Either way, the decision is mine to make. I am the supreme military authority in this sector. Until the High Command replaces me, my word is law." Jake tried to stand, winced, sat back down. "You are serious? You would actually do this?" "I am not doing it for you. I am doing it because I have spent 6 hours reading about human warfare and another hour learning firsthand what close combat means. And I have concluded that fighting your species would be the stupidest decision I could make. The Korthak's empire has survived 12,000 years by being pragmatic, by choosing battles we can win cleanly. Earth is not that battle. What changed? 6 hours ago you were mocking my knife, laughing at my grandfather's kills. Now you are offering alliance?" Vrell touched the wound on his throat, still bleeding slightly. "You changed it. You showed me that size and strength mean nothing against determination. You demonstrated that victory is not always about firepower. Sometimes it is about will, about who wants to survive more. And I realized that humans want to survive more than Korthaks want to conquer. That imbalance means we lose, even if we win the military conflict. My crew, my ship. What happens to them? They will be returned to you. With repairs, apologies, and a formal invitation to return to Earth and inform your government of our proposal. You will act as ambassador. Negotiate the terms of our alliance. I am a ship captain, not a diplomat. You are a warrior who understands both peace and war. That makes you the perfect diplomat. Jake finally stood, carefully, holding his damaged ribs. The Empire will hate this. You know that. They will see it as weakness, failure. Let them. I have conquered 47 systems. I have earned the right to choose a different path for number 48. And when the High Command sees the tactical assessment I provide, when they understand what fighting Earth would actually cost, they will accept my decision. They are not fools. And if they do not? If they send a different commander to finish what you started? Then you and I will have bigger problems, but cross that bridge when we come to it. For now, we have 7 days before my fleet reaches Earth. 7 days to draft a proposal. 7 days to convince both our peoples that cooperation is better than destruction. You trust me to help with this? I could sabotage it. Make demands you cannot accept. Force a conflict. You could, Vrell agreed, but you will not. Because you are like your grandfather, a warrior who kills when necessary but prefers not to. A man who cried over the 17 lives he took because he understood the cost of violence. You will negotiate in good faith because the alternative is billions dead. And you are not willing to accept that price. Jake extended his hand. A human gesture. Vrell had seen it in the data files, a symbol of agreement. Trust. Alliance. Vrell had no hand to offer, but he extended his primary arm, the one with the most dexterous manipulator digits. Jake grasped it. They shook. 2 warriors from different species, choosing peace over war. My grandfather would have liked you, Jake said. He always said the best warriors are the ones who know when not to fight. He sounds wise. He was. That is why he survived when so many others did not. That is why I carry his knife. To remember that violence is sometimes necessary. But peace is always preferable. Vrell released Jake's hand. Activated his communicator. Renix. Have Captain Reeves's crew brought to conference room 7. Prepare quarters for all of them. Comfortable quarters. They are no longer prisoners. They are guests. Sir? I do not understand. You will. Brief the senior staff. We have a fleet arriving at Earth in 7 days. We need to be ready to negotiate rather than attack. Negotiate? Sir, our orders are to conquer. Our orders are to expand the Empire. I am choosing to expand through alliance rather than conquest. If you have objections, file them formally. Otherwise, follow my commands. Yes, sir. Vrell looked at Jake. You should rest. Heal. We have work ahead of us. One question first. Ask, why did you really call me back to this chamber? The truth. Vrell considered lying, considered deflecting. But this human had earned honesty. Because I saw something in your eyes during our first conversation, something I had never seen in 47 conquered species. You were not afraid, not begging, not broken. You were calculating, evaluating, planning. And I realized that if one human, captured and alone on an enemy ship, he could stand before me without fear, what would 8 billion humans do when threatened? What kind of hell would they create? And I decided I would rather have you as allies than enemies. Jake nodded slowly. That is probably the smartest decision you will ever make. I hope you are right. Because if this fails, if our peoples go to war despite my efforts, the blood will be on both our hands. Then we make sure it does not fail. They spent the next 7 days working together. Jake described Earth's government, its structure, its decision-making processes, its history of alliances and treaties. Vrell explained the Korthax Empire, its laws, its customs, its expectations for member species. They drafted a proposal. Detailed, fair, beneficial to both sides. Earth would maintain its independence but gain access to Korthak's technology and some faster-than-light travel, energy systems. In return, Earth would provide the Empire with something it lacked: military doctrine, combat training, tactical expertise. "You want us to teach you how to fight?" Jake asked when Vrell suggested this. "We want you to teach us how to fight like you do: close combat, guerrilla warfare, unconventional tactics. These skills could be valuable against future threats, and it gives Earth a unique position in the Empire. The warrior trainers, the combat specialists, respected, valued, essential. You are turning our greatest strength into our greatest asset." "Exactly. Rather than fearing your capacity for violence, we harness it. Direct it toward mutual defense. Everyone wins." Jake's crew was skeptical at first, understandable. But when Jake explained what had happened, what he had learned, what Vrell was offering, they began to see the possibilities. Peace, alliance, survival. On the 7th day, the Korthak's fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of Earth's solar system. 7,000 ships. The largest military force humanity had ever seen. Earth's defenses activated. Every ship, every weapon, every soldier, ready to fight, ready to die. And then Vrell sent a message. "People of Earth, I am Commander Vrell of the Korthak's Empire. 7 days ago, we intercepted one of your vessels. We intended to conquer your planet, to add you to our empire by force. But your Captain Jake Reeves taught me something important. He taught me that humanity does not surrender, does not submit, does not accept defeat. And he taught me what close combat truly means, not just the physical act, but the philosophy behind it. The willingness to do whatever it takes to protect what you love. I respect that. I admire it. And I have decided that the Korthak's Empire would rather fight beside humans than against them. I am transmitting a proposal for alliance. Review it. Consider it. Respond when ready. But know this: if you choose war, we will give it to you. And both our species will pay a price neither can afford. Choose wisely." The message ended. Silence across the void of space. Then Earth responded. Not with weapons, with a communication request. Diplomatic channels opening. Conversations beginning. Jake stood on the bridge of the Northern Star, now fully repaired and docked with the Crimson Talon. His crew around him. His grandfather's knife on his hip. "You did it," his science officer said. "A woman named Lisa Fenton. You actually convinced them not to attack." "Vrell convinced them," Jake corrected. "I just showed him why attacking would be a mistake. With a 7-inch knife. With a 7-inch knife. And some lessons my grandfather taught me. And a lot of luck." Vrell appeared on the view screen. "Captain Reeves, Earth has agreed to preliminary talks. They want you to represent humanity in the negotiations." "Me? I am not qualified. You are the only human who has fought a Korthak's and survived. That makes you uniquely qualified. Besides, I trust you. And if we are to build an alliance, it must start with trust." Jake looked at his crew, at the stars beyond the viewport, at the future that was suddenly uncertain but possible. "All right," he said. "Let's build something better than war." The negotiations took months. There were setbacks, disagreements, moments when everything almost fell apart. But humans and Korthaks kept talking, yet kept working, kept choosing peace. In the end, they created something unprecedented: the Terran-Korthaks Alliance. 2 species, different in every way, united in purpose, stronger together than apart. Earth got technology, medicine, protection, independence. The Korthaks got allies, combat training, tactical expertise, respect for a species they had almost destroyed, and humanity got to keep being human, free, defiant, dangerous. But now the danger was directed outward, toward mutual threats, toward exploration, step toward building rather than destroying. Jake Reeves became the first human admiral in the Alliance fleet. His grandfather's knife displayed in his quarters as a reminder, not of war, but of the choice to make peace even when war seemed inevitable. Vrell rose to High Commander of the entire Cortax military. His decision to negotiate rather than conquer became Alliance doctrine. Seek allies, not subjects. And sometimes, late at night, Vrell would visit Jake's quarters. They would share drinks, tell stories, laugh about the day they met. The day a human with a knife taught a Cortax commander what close combat really meant. Not the fighting, but the choice to fight, the will to survive, the refusal to quit, and the wisdom to know when not to fight at all. Because that, in the end, was the greatest victory either species could have achieved, not the conquest of an enemy, but the creation of a friend.